Tom Bringdown. I'm Brandon Grader.
I'm Elliot Drew.
Thanks for tuning in to the number one podcast amongst people who wouldn't think a beaver would have such a hard time taking care of some wood. We had a very Canadian experience. Well, not us personally, but
No, we didn't have every experience we have is a very Canadian experience.
That's
'cause we
true.
live in Canada.
Very true.
So
Fair enough.
if it happened here, it's a Canadian experience.
And even when we're like in Disneyland or Mexico or something, because we're Canadian, we make it Canadian.
Yeah.
And therefore,
we're still having Canadian experiences.
yeah, exactly.
We're experiencing this like nobody can unless they're Canadian.
Yeah. So, near us, about an hour away,
Yeah.
there was a woman at home in the evening. I think it was like around 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
And her young child was asleep upstairs.
Yeah.
And she was doing some watching television, I think, is
Yeah.
what she said. And
Scrolling through the Facebook,
on
just
the-
kind
yeah.
of chilling out.
Yeah, just, doing what we all do.
Yeah, it's the end of the day.
I think her
you know.
husband was at work if she was married. Because
Yeah.
she said she was there by herself.
She was there
and
by
her
herself.
child upstairs. So
Yeah.
if she was married, he was probably at work or something.
Or, not necessarily married, but in a common law relationship.
Whatever their status is, we're not going to get into that shit.
It's complicated.
Yeah, there's too many of those kind of things now. So if she had somebody that she cohabitated with in a manner befitting taxable deduction status. So anyways, she was there and she hears this. And she's like, "What the fuck?" And she was like, jumps up and she grabs I think she grabbed some sort of like a duster or something.
Well, no, first she grabbed, she went around and looked. And,
Yeah, because there was a noise at the back of her house.
Yeah. So she was like, what the hell? So she went back there to check it out.
Yeah.
As you do, right?
Because, we're Canadian, so we're like, well, yeah, we'll go see what it is first.
Yeah, whoa, slow your roll, eh? No need to get alarmed.
Yeah.
Let's just go check it out.
Yeah.
And so she went out. She
Go
went
take
out.
a look, eh?
Yeah, she just, went to check it out, eh? And there she was in the back, and she looked around. She didn't see nothing, but she heard lots of noises, eh?
Yeah, it was still happening.
Yeah. And so she got kind of freaked out.
Yeah.
So then she grabbed the most Canadian of all defensive weapons, a snow brush for your car with
That's right.
the plastic
That's right.
scraper on the end.
Yeah.
And she was all like, I will totally scrape this person because she thought she was being broken into.
Yeah, she thought it was a criminal.
Somebody trying to break into her house. So she got all freaked out and she grabbed that for defense and she's checking it out and she's like, I will defend my home with this ice scraper / snow brush for my car.
Yeah.
And we were like, that's a great weapon because if it can defeat winter, it can defeat a man.
So at the same time, while she's investigating that, she calls her neighbor.
Yes.
And suddenly, her neighbor's like, she's like, someone's trying to break into my house. Dial tone.
Yeah.
That's it. There was no, it was almost like in a movie where the phone line gets cut. Whoa. It was really spooky, she
But
said.
if you have a cell phone, can your phone line be cut?
I think it was a landline.
Oh, really?
I think it was still a
maybe.
traditional landline. Anyways, she phones her neighbor and the phone goes dead. That's all she got out. Someone's trying to break into my house. And the phone went dead. Turns out what had happened is the neighbor heard, someone's trying to break into my house. She hung up and called 911.
Which is what you should do if someone's breaking into
like
someone's house.
in actuality, the woman whose house was allegedly getting broken into
Yeah.
should have actually called the police.
Well, here's the thing. We're hanging out
Yeah.
and you're over there and I think somebody's coming at me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you and be like, hey, I think something's happening. I'm just be like, I'm calling the police. The guy's going to come get me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if
What's your neighbor going to do?
if somebody was going to break into my house or come into my property and attack me, say, I'm not going to phone you.
Yeah.
You live relatively close. We're not neighbors, but you live like about 4 or 5 blocks away from me. I'm not going to call you because the police have these things are called lights and sirens, and when those are on, they have the license to go drive as fast as they possibly can.
Well, and also, I'm going to be at my house.
Yeah.
You're getting
And
broken
you're not
into.
going to have shoes on. And there's all that, there's logistic problems and
I gotta
delays.
get up and get dressed and come over. And then when I get here, and I'm going to be like, yeah, you are being broken into. What are we going to do?
Yeah, let's call the police.
We're going to call the police.
It's a good thing we waited this 11 minutes for me to get here to verify that you needed to call the police.
Yeah.
Because that's really necessary. It's a good thing we added this extra few steps to this list of protocol.
We wouldn't want to call the police
what
unless,
happens.
without second party verification.
Yeah. They're like, you don't have a growth on your knee, man. Like, you don't need a second opinion on this. If you think someone's breaking into your house, you go right ahead and call the cops. That's what they're there for.
Well, and this is the fun. I love the fact, if you're gonna call I'm being broken into, and your neighbor's like, okay, let me look and see if I can see the person that's breaking in. Yeah, there's a guy.
Yeah.
You should call the police. That's not how that works. Because if I showed up here, what are you expecting your neighbor to do?
Yeah.
Right? Like unless your neighbor's paramilitary.
Yeah, maybe he's a retired cop or something. Retired last year or something.
Or actively serving in the military or something.
Big bushy logger dude or something.
Yeah. Or, runs the Hell's Angels or something. I don't know. But somebody that can do something about the guy that may or may not be breaking into your house.
Yeah.
We
shouldn't say guy. We should say person. Because we didn't know at this time what was going on.
It could very well be a lady.
Yeah.
We don't know. It could. There's an entity breaking into your house.
Yeah.
And now calling me is really the stupidest thing you could do because I'm about as threatening as a wet spaghetti noodle.
That's actually almost being a little insulting to wet spaghetti noodles.
I'm about the same color. I have about the same consistency.
Yeah.
And I'm about as dangerous.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that they hold up better in boiling water than you do too.
That's true. I have yet to be boiled and survive.
You turn for shit when you get into boiling salt water.
So, calling me really isn't helping your situation. Even if you are being, if you're being broken into, it really doesn't. But even if you're not, I'm still going to be yeah, maybe you should call the police.
Yeah.
So, the neighbor
called. Smart thinking. That's the kind of neighbor that you want to have.
Yeah.
And
because you couldn't remember 911 in your panic,
so
but you'd be like,
so you want to have somebody that you can be like, and they know, holy shit's going down. We need the police. We need the ambulance, fire, whatever we need.
Yeah,
you got to have that cool, calm, collected person.
Yeah,
who's just like, yep, shit's happening. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
So, a police officer shows up.
Indeed, he did.
One lone, singular police officer. Lights on, everything.
Came in.
Yep, coming on in. And he's out, probably had his gun drawn. Maybe not, because we're Canada. I don't know if we do that right away.
No, he didn't.
Okay, but I bet he probably had his taser ready. His taser was probably on his
he had one of those big flashlights.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But much like anything, the first assumption is not that, A, you are being broken into. The second assumption is that if you're being broken into, chances are if the cops show up and shine a light on the guy and they catch him, they run after him and backup shows up and everybody gets the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Right? He might run, but it's the RCMP. They're going to get their man.
Yeah, they always do. That's their slogan,
it's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
It's what they do.
It's they're annoyingly notorious
for getting their guy.
Yeah.
So he showed up. He's ready, but he doesn't assume.
He's got a gun with him.
But he doesn't assume that he just has to shoot somebody because this is Canada and we don't just assume that everybody needs to be shot.
At first he's like, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to see what's going on, actually, is the first thing.
Well, because we don't know that he's trying, we think we've heard some noises, but we don't know.
Maybe he's just all drunk and fell down in this lady's backyard.
Yeah.
He was maybe he thought it was his house because they lived in a cul-de-sac that has 14 of the same identical houses in them.
Yeah.
And he was coming home drunk from a football game, and maybe he thought it was his house.
Yeah, you don't know.
We don't know.
We're going to ask questions, shoot later.
Or probably never at all.
Yeah. I'd just like to say this. This is a cop that other cops could maybe learn something from. You don't need a gun just to see what's going on.
So he shows up and he's got his big flashlight and he's walking in. And he's being cautious because, of course, you don't know.
You don't know. He's
So-
being safe.
So he's got his big, as my brother would call it, road rage renegotiator flashlight, because my brother had one of those and he carried it and he had this little car. It was at the time he drove I think it was like a Dodge Neon or something. This is back in the late, or in the early 2000s, and it had this big long pocket in the doorway. And he had one of those big 24-inch
Mag light.
yeah, big black bastards. And
That's really yes. There's a light on one side, but really the other side's just a giant metal.
Yeah,
bat.
it's got 14D batteries in it to power that one light bulb. Totally unnecessary.
It lasts for forever, but it also adds the weight.
Yeah,
And they all go in this end just so you can get that really good swing.
exactly. So it's actually there's all the weights at one end, and then there's this little tiny wire that travels for 14 inches to get to the light bulb. That's all really about counterweight and distribution for the thrusting power. Remember in Braveheart when Mel Gibson pulls out that thing from behind and it's on the chain with the big ball? It's basically one of those.
It's just basically like that, but it has a light, so it's just a flashlight.
Yeah.
It's not a weapon at all.
Yeah, it's a mace light.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he's got out his big road rage renegotiator, as my brother would say, and he's walking in the backyard, and those lights are fucking bright.
They are bright.
My brother's was not a police issue one, and it was bright, and police have even brighter ones. So he's walking in the backyard, and he can hear the noise. He can hear all the scratching and the thumping and everything else. So he's like, what the hell? So he gets back there, and there's no man there.
Nobody.
There's no woman there. There's no human being there at all.
Was it a ghost?
There's no... He's like, okay, well, maybe it's a dog. Maybe there's a dog trying to get... Or a bear. We have lots of bears. It's springtime
Lots of bears.
here. They're starting to
They're
wake
waking
up.
up. They're coming looking for some munchies.
Exactly. So maybe it's a bear trying to find some food or got stuck in this lady's... Not sure what's happening. So then there's a gate. And he's like, well, because the noise stopped. So I guess he's like, well, I'm going to open the gate and I'm going to see what's behind this gate. And it's literally like, what's behind door number 1?
Yeah.
And he opens up the gate and out pops a fucking beaver.
Ladies and gentlemen, God's most perfect creature just came and visited this lady, and she was too scared to know that she had a celestial encounter.
Yeah. Really, her house should be sanctified as a holy site now.
A shrine.
Yeah.
How sometimes they're like, I see the Virgin Mary on toast.
Yeah.
Her house has been visited by a beaver.
And if I was her, I would do nothing to repair that fence because the beaver did cause some damage.
It did.
However, because beaver is God's most perfect creature, that is now actually a holy site.
Yeah.
It's a demonstration of the holy spiritual powers of the beaver.
Yes, because let's be honest.
Which, I mean, that's also a porn movie too. But
The holy supernatural powers of the beaver.
yeah.
But
Volume 11.
because they just, once they find a good title, they don't want to mess that up.
No. Forrest Gump 42. Forrest Hump 42, I mean.
Well, really, and at a certain point, we've all seen this in porn. Little side road. It's not like the story is ever going to change.
No, it doesn't need to.
You know, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe just with different people that look slightly different, but how they do things may swap up a little bit. But it's really the same basic 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
Right. It's very weird, very socially awkward. We're gonna have sex conversation that usually consists of 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Sometimes more. Sometimes they try for more, but it's really at the end it's 2 sentences. And then
when they do try for more, it's just like, come on, get on with it. Where's that 30-second skip forward button on the
Because
remote.
this is not good. It's
Yeah.
like there's no reason for you to jump. It doesn't matter how long the scene is. There's no reason for you to jump from this situation to sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all know that they could have done jump shots with different scenes and locations where these people meet and they have conversation and blah, blah, and yada, 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 and then they end up there. But there's no yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's literally, I'm here. You're hot. You're hot. Let's fuck.
Yeah.
And
I was like the
In
one
some-
where it's like two women and they're like, "Oh, Tim broke up with me. I don't even know why I date guys anymore." Well, you know, you don't have to.
yeah.
And then they're just, that's it. Like, that's all it takes.
Well,
Because if that had been the case, I would have broke up with Tim numerous times over my life. I tell you. Because I knew a Tim. I mean, I didn't date a Tim, but I knew a Tim, and I would have kicked him out of my life numerous, like dozens of times.
yeah, I don't know why I date him either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
But it doesn't matter what the pretense is. There's the pretense. Let's call that the pretense phase of porn.
Yes.
They always try to come up with
The
some
photocopier
sort
guy,
of pretense.
the pizza delivery. Those are kind of the standards.
Secretary, boss,
Yeah.
whatever the
Teacher,
situation.
student. Yeah.
Two people randomly meeting at a park. It doesn't matter what the like.
Oh, I see you breathe oxygen. You breathe oxygen as well? Let's fuck.
So there's the pretense phase of porn,
Yeah.
right? And then you go from the pretense phase of porn to what I call the undressing
Yeah.
phase of porn.
Yeah.
Now,
That's where the music started.
the undressing phase of porn can include it can include any sort of making out.
Yeah. Kissing.
Yeah, so kissing, boob sucking, whatever.
Yeah.
But really
Little rubbing of the balls through the pants.
yeah.
They were not at the
Yeah.
totally undressed stage yet.
Yeah. Well, and to whatever it takes to get to the second phase of porn or the third phase of porn, which is oral sex.
Yes.
Because I don't know if this was always the case, but since I have been alive, there's always been an oral sex component of porn,
Very much so, yeah.
right? And it happens after the pretense. So the pretense sets us up. Then there's the foreplay portion
Yeah.
or the undressing portion. And sometimes that, like, it literally goes, like, that portion can be, like, super short.
Yeah.
And, hey, who are you? And it just goes, boom, we're right into, like, oral sex.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, that portion, depending on the porn, it can be very short. And then I go to full-blown, and then there's the fourth stage, which is full-blown sex portion of porn.
Yeah.
And that can be whatever you want it to. Like, that, it can, that's usually the main event, and it obviously has an ending. And some people would be like, they would argue there's a fifth stage of the finish.
Yeah.
But I don't actually consider that a stage.
No, it's the ending of the
It's the ending of the fourth stage.
Yeah.
To me, right? And some people make more of it, like some porn makes more of a deal of it than other porn.
Yeah.
But, and let's be honest, depending on what kind of porn you're watching, like chances are if it's just regular man, woman, that's going to end up somewhere outside
Yeah. Yeah.
on the woman's body.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't watch a lot of porn anymore, but it seems to me like porn, it was always like, it used to be just straight on the outside of the woman's vagina, or on like if they were having sex doggy style, then they'd do it on the back of her ass, and then suddenly it switched to her face. When did that become a thing?
well, I remember like tits.
Yeah, there
come
was
on
that
my,
too.
come-
Yeah.
which I never actually understood.
Yeah.
Right? Because the girls would be all excited to get cum on their tits, and I'm like, why is that?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
And like, far be it from me.
I mean, better than their face, I guess.
Well,
It was before the face, though.
far be it from me to be like, what gets you off? Like, I don't know. Everybody gets to have their own things.
Yeah.
Like, like quite honestly, if you're like, if you touch my elbow, that's my thing.
Yeah, fair
like,
enough.
I want you to rub my elbow hard while we have sex. That's a thing. You get to have that thing.
Yeah.
And if you have a partner that's like, you know what really gets me off? Rubbing your elbow. Then you found that person, and the two of you together will go off in rubbing elbow sex and live happily ever after.
Carry on, my elbow, son. do what you please.
And that I just chose probably the most innocuous kink ever.
Yeah.
Like there's elbow rubbing kink I didn't even know.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like
yeah.
I'm gonna go with
They have a convention and shit.
at this point.
Elbow con.
Elbow. Touch my weenus.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be, like I go with that because I really want it. Kink is like most of it is as harmless as that. We just have weird things about it. Everybody's like, that's like you want to suck on toes, that gets whatever. You want to have your toes sucked, that whatever. Like wherever you lie on that spectrum, as long as everybody's into it, it's all as innocuous as rubbing elbows.
Yeah, yeah.
It really doesn't matter as long as everybody's consenting and you're happy and both of you are enjoying it.
Yep.
We've been doing this show now for a long time, and we have talked about some of the strangest and weirdest things that I have ever experienced. And very little surprises me anymore. Like, people are like, do you know people do that? And I'm like, yeah, it seems all right.
Yeah, that kind of figures. Yeah.
that figures. Let me tell you about some of the things I've heard.
Yeah.
People are like, what?
You wouldn't believe the story that I heard. You wouldn't believe what I've heard.
Yeah.
And talked about on a podcast.
Yeah. We've actually had in-depth discussions about that particular kink. So everybody's got their own thing. And I think that is kind of, to me, like you get to do all of that. As long as everybody's happy and everybody's consenting, then you're adults. Do whatever you want. It doesn't hurt anybody. Or maybe it does a little bit, and they like that, But nobody is suffering against their will to do these things. So as long as everybody's involved and is happy to be involved, I don't really care about whatever that is. So to me, that's the fourth stage, is whatever you want to be doing to get, that's sex.
Yeah.
And sex finishes up in one, well, hopefully sex finishes up in one way for everybody. Everybody has their orgasm and is happy. Yeah. Now, for men, that means that, we're going to spew forth some fluid. And, well, maybe for women, too, at this point.
Certain
who knows?
Women, yeah.
Yeah. But if everybody's happy, so I was like, when they started like, come on my tits, I was all like, well, maybe some people like that. But
probably there is people.
I'm sure there are people that are like, you know what, I just want to rub some semen on my breasts. That's going to be my best day ever.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling like that's not women in general.
I don't think so.
And as a guy, at a certain point, I don't care where it goes. Like, the mess is going to happen.
Do I get to orgasm? That's all that matters.
Yeah. And it's going to be a little messy.
Yeah.
I don't care where the mess goes. I just want it to happen.
Yeah.
And, we have prophylactics to contain the mess for people that need it contained. But if you're like, no, it's going someplace and I just want to, and hey.
It's like a fucking fire hose.
Yeah. So then it went, but it's migrated north. And that seems to be the thing now that I've noticed is that, you're right. Everybody's like, come on my face.
But that's the thing, is that you never hear the porn women actually be like, come on my face. It literally is like, they'll be having sex. And that's the other thing too, is we're from a generation from before we had the internet.
Yeah.
And access to all the porn that we could ever imagine in our lives. I remember finding porn magazines on the sidewalk that somebody had thrown out of a car or something, and it was a big deal. It was the score of our lives. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
And I also remember I remember seeing in porn my first anal. And I was like, where did this porn come from? This is the forbidden porn. Because it was so uncommon that you never saw it. Like, yeah, we had, oral sex, and we had vaginal sex and coming on tits and all that kind of stuff, but we never had anal sex.
Well, and because people were like, that's an out hole.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
well,
too,
it's not that people people have had anal sex for forever, but it was like before the internet came around. It was still one of those, like, you didn't talk about it. It was still taboo.
Well, and that's a lot of that was associated at that point with the homosexual community.
Yeah, and unfortunately there was that, and like when we were kids, like we were born before HIV and AIDS became a thing.
Yeah.
Like we're older than AIDS and HIV are. Well, I wouldn't say older, but older than the general public knowledge
the epidemic of it.
Yeah, the epidemic of it. So there was a lot of sort of, like you say, homosexual connotation and intimation that was, by having anal sex, that was how you could get AIDS or HIV. That was still a myth. That was a myth that was still being perpetuated.
Yes. Yeah. Butt sex equals death.
Yeah.
Yeah. You will die.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have butt sex.
So, but I remember seeing my first anal porn, and I was like, this is fucking insane. And not like in the, like, besides the obvious, like, it's anal porn, like it's anal sex, like, come on. But the fact that we were actually watching it on a porn, because that was just unheard of at that time.
Yeah.
At least for me, anyways. Like, I'm sure there's other people in like bigger cities and stuff who are like, oh fuck, I've been watching anal porn since '79. You know,
remember in 1922 when the movies first came, we made an anal porn back then. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we won't yell anal porn so loud while my kids are sleeping in the house.
Sorry, dude.
But yeah, so anyways, what people are into, there's always going to be an audience for it, for like in any situation. Like you said, there's somebody out there that gets turned on by elbows. There's somebody out there that gets turned on by rubbing the back of your knee. There's somebody turned on by the toes. There's all kinds of weird shit that people are into, and it's fine. If that's what you're into, don't hurt anybody and go to her. Yeah. I don't give a shit. But I forgot where I was going with this. What were we talking about originally?
I have actually...
We're talking about the beaver. And the beaver's ability to it was a spiritual thing.
I don't know how we got down this point.
I don't know how we started talking about porn.
I remember, I don't even know how we got here. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how to get back to the beaver, dude.
I don't know either.
We got to make our way back.
Okay, well, let's just take two.
It's a hard cut back to the story. We went so far down this rabbit hole. Originally, I had a point.
Yeah, we don't even know where we were going with that tangent.
I did. I remember back when we started, I was like, oh, we're going to talk about porn for a bit, but it's going to bring us back, and I have this really great point. And I've lost the point now. We got talking about whatever.
Yeah.
Because it had something to do with, like, weird sex. And that was going to tie us back into something that was going to bring us back to the beaver. And I don't know now.
I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
So back to the beaver. We've been doing this shit. Like, we should really be better at this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like when you're driving in your car and you get somewhere and you're like, how the fuck did I get here? I don't even, like, I remember nothing of that drive. And I've been driving for like an hour, like through school zones and shit. I don't remember nothing.
Yeah. I'm just here.
I probably shouldn't have been drinking while I was doing it. So this beaver, the police officer opens the gate, and a fucking beaver comes walking out. So now there's like backup. Backup has arrived at this point. So now there's like, I think there was 4 cops in total now, 3 cop cars, and they're just like, we're prepared. We're ready to go. We are ready. Like, small town Nanaimo. Well, it's not small town. It's a fairly big town, about 70,000, 80,000 people. They were ready to stop a potential break-in the middle of, the early evening. we should say.
the middle of the night.
Yeah.
No, it was really
like
just
10 o'clock.
It was like evening.
Yeah.
It was true. I feel like 8 to 10 o'clock is evening.
Yeah. So the beaver comes waddling out because that's what they do. They're like penguins. They comes waddling out and kind of looks up at them, and it's basically like gives them a little, little chin up. So
Yeah.
thanks for opening the gate.
Yep. Been caught back there for a while. Need to get home. Fucking
Yeah.
missus is gonna be pissed.
Yeah. And he's like, what? This ain't my lodge, man. He's all drunk because he's Canadian. That's what we do.
Yeah, he's been out for a night on the town.
Yeah,
he's been out for a rip.
He's out drinking with the moose.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So anyways, they tried to apprehend it, and they were like, we should probably take it and like get animal services here and take this beaver and release it off into the wild in an area more appropriate for beaver habitation.
Yes.
The beaver was having none of it.
No.
The beaver was like, I can fucking walk myself home.
Yeah.
You fucking pigs. No.
But
It's like, thank you very much, officers. I will be going on my way now. Thank you for opening the gate.
sorry about that. Sorry to put you out.
I may be God's most perfect creature, but I'm only 11 inches tall. I just can't do it. I mean, I can fall a motherfucking tree with my teeth, but do you think I can open a gate?
Been trying here for like 3 hours to chew through this post so this gate will come in.
Some prick pressure treated this shit. I made it harder.
It tastes horrible.
Yeah. Like, I can rip through an alder in a couple of minutes, but this is bullshit. Somebody, who issued this permit? It shouldn't be allowed to use this.
I don't know. Just don't look in that corner, like chewing on this stuff. I got a gag reflex. I'm sorry about what happened over there, but just don't look behind the hydrangeas.
Yeah. Just leave it over there. Don't even just like throw some dirt over there before the sun comes up. You just bury it.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
And don't tell my wife.
Yeah. By the way, do you know my wife? Do you know where I am?
Yeah. Can I get direction to 42 Lake?
Yeah.
So anyways, the beaver was having nothing to do with getting captured and proceeded off. And I mean, really, police officers, especially the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, as hallowed as they are as an institution and as individuals, and as how much respect they deserve and how much respect they are given due to their patience and their training and their skill and their brevity in the situations and their ability to stay calm in moments of crisis. They are no match for God's most perfect creature.
No.
And
there are certain things, like, do you want to, like, there's certain things you jump in front of.
Yep.
You jump in front of a speeding bullet.
Yep.
Right? To save a life. You do that.
You jump in front of a train to get a baby's car carriage or baby stroller thing.
But no matter what the situation, one never jumps in front of a beaver.
No.
You just don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, that would be a thing, because at that moment, and we all know this, nobody wants an angry beaver. We want our beavers to remain calm. And you stand beside, and you may coax the beaver.
Yep.
You
Maybe
may
even rub it a little bit.
cajole the beaver.
Yep.
You may plead with the beaver.
Yep.
But nobody gets to make a beaver do what a beaver doesn't want to do. That's just
Exactly.
wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong. And the RCMP know that that's wrong too.
Yeah, that's why they were like, we have a car, we can drive you to 42 Lake. We know that that's where you live.
Yeah.
We can take you there in your car, if you'd like.
Yeah.
And it's not like they were like, get in the car. They were like, please, Mr. Beaver.
Yeah.
If I'm assuming let's assume it was the Beaver, Mr. Beaver, because Mrs. Beaver probably at home taking care of the kids, and that's just what they do.
Yeah.
So let's assume it was the husband.
Although there have been times when we've seen Mrs. Beaver out on the stroll.
Yeah.
And she can throw down.
Exactly.
She can party.
So they tried, and they were being nice and polite and trying to convince him to take the car ride.
Yeah.
Because, he was a little drunk.
As
we all are.
As we all are in Canada.
Excuse me. So they tried, but he just wasn't having it, and they understand that no matter how much you want to touch the beaver, no matter how much you want to help the beaver, you do not mess with the beaver,
No.
because everybody has had a bad experience with a beaver. I'm sorry.
I feel like that got
I got too.
you got a little close to home.
Yeah,
That one bad beaver experience that you've had.
I'll spit more than one.
Oh. So in the long run, the beaver still roams free.
The beaver carried on its way. I'm assuming made it to 42 Lake
He got home
to his
we hope,
to his home to his lodge.
to where he needed to go. He continues on to, as all beavers do,
Yep.
to instill greatness into this wonderful country
Yep.
that we live by its very essence.
Yep.
Just giving back to the land, being industrious. Because yes, that beaver was out on a tear.
Yeah.
Most probably wasn't where he should have been. But tomorrow morning at sunrise, that beaver, you know where he's going to be? On the job site,
Yep.
doing what he's got to do. That's how beavers go. That's how they
Yep.
roll, right?
Because
It's all party. It's work hard, play hard.
it's much like my dad used to tell me when I was a kid and discovering the great nectar of beer. You want to buy beer? You want to drink beer all night? That's fine. You want to be hungover in the morning? That's fine too. But if you're scheduled to be at work, you better fucking be at work.
Yeah.
And so much so that one time I went out and drank a whole bottle of tequila to my head. You took me home, dumped me on my bedroom floor, where I proceeded to projectile vomit all over my floor after we had to pull over numerous times on the way home so I could projectile vomit out of the car door. He woke me up at 7:30 the next morning and took me to work because
Yep.
I had to be at work the next morning.
Worst day ever.
Yep. Fucking air chiseling paint off the side of an industrial dump truck dump box.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
But I did it because that's what had to be done.
And it's that kind of work ethic that makes not only you, sir, but Canadians at large, and most especially the beaver, great.
Yep.
And it's that we know that the next morning, yes, he got home somehow. We don't know.
Yep.
Maybe he didn't even make it home. He maybe slept in a ditch. But then the next morning when the bell rang, he was there ready to go to work. Because that's what Canadian beavers do.
Let's be honest. We all know that beavers make it home every night. Do you know why? Because if beavers are ultimately lost, God will simply just say, put his hand down and say, climb aboard, buddy.
Yeah,
Climb aboard.
that's right.
And he will move them to
Where they need to be.
deliver them to wherever their
They need to be.
celestial home will be.
And so the beaver was fine, and the poor lady, and I do, to a certain extent, sympathize with her.
Yeah.
She has suffered a traumatic experience. She didn't know what was going on. Had she known, however, it would have been a holy moment, as she was blessed, and her home has now been, we can only say, worked on by the greatest carpenter that has ever lived,
Yeah.
the Canadian beaver. Because I've started to actually, I just want to point this out, I actually have started to make differentiations. Because yes, the beaver is God's most perfect creature, but among beavers, the Canadian beaver stands the tallest.
Yes.
Because we've heard about other countries that have beavers,
Yeah.
you know, and they're all like, what's so great about beavers? We have beavers. You don't know.
Yeah. You don't
'Cause-
know for beavers.
You don't know for beavers because, yes, you have beavers. All countries may have beavers.
Yeah.
You know, they're out there. They're around.
Russia has beavers.
Yeah.
We talked about a killer beaver in Russia
in Siberia.
that got pissed off because people pissed it off.
Well, and because we all know you don't make the beaver angry.
Yeah.
And yes, there are beavers all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, every country has beavers somewhere hidden in it. I'm sure.
Oh, I don't think every country. I don't think Saudi Arabia has beavers.
They don't know yet. Maybe they haven't looked hard enough. I
Yeah.
bet you if they really went hunting, they could find some beaver in Saudi Arabia.
Probably.
You know,
I mean, they probably wouldn't let it drive either, though.
most probably has to wear too much clothes or
Yeah.
something. We don't know. We don't know. It's
But to be fair, we don't let our beavers drive either.
Here's the thing. If there's beaver in Saudi Arabia, I'm sure it's pretty unhappy.
Yeah, probably. Probably. It's hot as fuck. There's no water.
You know, it's not getting the freedom it deserves.
Yeah.
It's not allowed to vote and stuff. I don't know. Whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But if there's beaver in Saudi Arabia, I'm sure it's most probably not the happiest
It's
of
a
all
miserable beaver life.
beavers. Yeah, it's tough to be a beaver in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I can also say that it's most probably tough to be a beaver in Afghanistan or a beaver in Iran or a beaver in, Iraq even.
Southern Alabama.
It's most probably tough to be a beaver in Alabama.
But all other countries that claim to have beavers pale in comparison, because we were talking about the beaver's work ethic. And Canada is the only country in the world
Yeah.
that has so many beavers that all of our beavers got together and they had a beaver con.
Yeah.
And they were hanging out and they were in this lake. Well, a bunch of lakes. And they were you know what we should do? We should build a dam because we're beavers.
That you can see from space.
And that's what we do.
yeah.
They built a fucking dam that you can see from satellites in space.
Yeah.
200 and something miles away, these cameras picked up a fucking beaver dam.
What the fuck's that? Why is that in oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Beavers created something big enough to be seen from space.
Yeah.
Canadian beavers.
We built a wall once, or well, we didn't, but the Chinese people built a wall once that can also be seen from space.
Yeah.
And they're 5 feet tall. Our Canadian beavers built a wall that can be seen from space, and they're 11 inches tall.
Well, when they're
I
crouched,
mean, they're 40 inches long.
yeah, and if they stood up on their hind legs for a second,
yeah,
it
which-
would be 3 feet high.
Yeah, they can. I guess they can. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they stand up. They don't. It's not like they mow the trees down right at ground level. They stand up and
Yeah,
do
they
it.
stand up and give them, they kind of chew on them around. So anyway,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, holy visit from the holy beaver
Yeah. And
to somebody right near us.
yeah, and everybody. It turned out fine.
Well, of course it did.
Police went and got Tim Hortons after.
Yeah, the police and the lady was like, me and my ice scraper are fine. Luckily, I had this to defend myself against what was possibly a home invader.
Well, now let's be honest though. If she had gone after that beaver would have simply just gone "Meow," and just ate that.
Well, and we
Ice
all
scraper
know
down to
that
nothing.
had she actually known it was a beaver, she would have left off and it would all been fine.
It would have been like a slow motion dropping of the ice scraper.
Yeah.
And it would be I can't believe I almost did that. It would bounce back.
Beaver. Yeah. But and really the long and the short of the story is that at the end of the day, the child sleeping upstairs knew nothing about this
None the wiser.
and was perfectly safe the entire time.
Yeah.
And that's what we should actually be rejoicing in, is that a small child slept soundly, undisturbed, through what was possibly, maybe not, but at one moment a supposed horrific event, never knowing that it may not have been in any danger whatsoever, but also not knowing that it was, while it slept, blessed to
Visited.
be in the presence, in the surrounding aura, and in the story of the great Canadian beaver. And that's the most important. And now on Monday, when it went, that child woke up and looked out its sunny, beautiful day, got dressed and went to school, it could share that it came this close, so close to having actually experienced a beaver visitation. And that's the story we actually should be telling here.
That's only like a hair away from perfection.
A hair away from the divine.
Yeah.
It was that close. That child, and not only did that child not have to it got to experience that, but it also got a good night's sleep, which is the most important thing because let's be honest, cranky kids suck.
All right. Well, that's a good place to end. So for Small Town Bringdown, I'm Brandon Grider.
I'm Elliot Drew.
Thanks for listening to us talk shit about shit.
I grew up in a real small town. Main streets, there was no one around. Skipping school, smoking pot in the sun. Remember days when we were young. I grew up, got a beautiful wife. I brought a son into...
This has been a Lunchbox fabrication.